First of all, what do you think about? We've discussed that Jordan Peele was lined up for this, and that they're actually MGM were quite keen. It seems.
I'm shocked that you even said his name in general. That my face. You play this back, you'll see me going. He just said the name, like,
Yeah,
but
I haven't told them aloud. So
yeah, I was like, what?
I was told by the original source a couple of days ago that I was allowed to.
Cool.
So but now he's not involved.
I was surprised when you said his name, because you said it as if you've been telling everyone, and you haven't. You've told us.
No.
You didn't tell everyone else.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I mentioned that there was a bit of controversy maybe around this director. And I wonder if it's maybe probably a good thing, to be honest. Even though I really respect him as a director, and I think he would have done an amazing job. I think the wokeists would have put wind in their sails, sort of thing.
I don't even know about that. As much as I love Jordan Peele, he is the three things that he has directed so far, even though the last thing was very Spielbergian, are very unique to him. And that's what worried me the most whenever you started saying, like, oh, well, the guy that might be directing is talking about a full reboot or talking about this, or at least leaning towards that. And that alone was enough to just make me not as excited for Jordan Peele as the last couple months that you've kind of mentioned it to us. Because you remember my face when you said Jordan Peele the first time. I was ecstatic.
I am kind of happy that he's not, for the same reason Harry said about the fact that he kind of would lead towards a hard reboot. I've always been against that anyway. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing is exciting. The whole thing is exciting that there's movement. The fact it's in Europe is good because they can get around the whole strike thing. A lot of it anyway.
We're going to talk about the strikes in a minute. I dropped a bomb that one of the people I spoke to said the studios have said November 1st, this has got to be over. We want to get work. He was actually talking about, I spoke to him a bit about it since, and he was saying a lot of the networks, they always do big like Christmas specials and stuff, and they normally film in the summer, and they haven't filmed, they haven't got them. And they're like, we really, really want to do some of these like Christmassy special type things. And so the studios, but then like the streaming services are thinking like all of our next summer productions, they should be filming now. Come on, sort of thing. So they've sort of said November 1st was they do not want this to go any further. And you're looking at deadline over the last 2 days. I think the WGA might be resolved today. It's really looking like, and I think whatever the WGA, the Writers Guild agree, I think the actors will follow. I think that the deal they get will be pretty similar. So I think this could be over in the next week.
It'd be nice.
And then we'll start getting official announcements of things. The other big headline then, no definitive answer on cinema release, but it is going to be a movie. House, did you want to, without saying names, did you want to add that little bit you mentioned?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can say one name. Just Chambers, the guy that I interviewed about a month and a half ago now on MCube. Check out that video if you haven't seen it yet, of course. He was talking.
You need to tell us who he is.
Say what?
You need to tell us who he is.
Oh, yeah. He's a playwright, author. His wife is a big producer at Disney and has a bunch of stuff going on, et cetera, et cetera. You can look up all that good stuff. I don't know if I should say it, but you got the information, a piece to piece puzzled together. But he was talking to some friends of his. He's lived here for 20, 25 years. His wife has had the most successful Disney show of the past few decades. So know some people. Talked to some people at MGM, and he was like, y'all are totally right. People are definitely getting Stargate together. So just an extra source of information that there is a Stargate movie and or TV show coming our way. And,
or both.
This man's the one keeping us
posted. That name is Chambers Stevens.
Chambers Stevens.
So, no definitive decision on cinema. How do we feel about that? But movie. We are getting movie.
I mean, for me, it's almost like, at least it seems like it's moving forward. You know, I mean, that in itself is kind of a relief, I guess.
Yeah. And we're starting
I think there's probably going to be more. There'd probably be more eyes if it was streaming anyway, just because of how few people now go to the cinema.
Yeah.
So, I know it's a controversial thing. People don't go to the cinema. People should go to the cinema because you should support whatever you want, but people don't, because money. It's just easier to stream. There's so many reasons why people don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, going onto a streaming service is going to get the most eyes possible. Maybe they'll do both though. Maybe they'll do it on streaming and also have a cinema release.
Which is what kind of happened, like a limited cinema release, which is kind of what's popular in the last few years. I think there's still a prestige to a cinematic movie. I've done a video talking about this tomorrow while I was walking on the beach this morning, so I won't say too much about that. But I think there's a prestige to it, and like it shows Amazon are really confident about this if they're willing to like push that out. That they're trying to become a cinema production company. They want to be feature films.
I feel like if Amazon are going to do a cinema release and it be big, it will be the Bond when they do it. That's going to have much more. That's going to have much more of an impact. But then that'll be their breakthrough.
Lots of people, you're right. I think a lot of people would get over whatever their version is to theaters these days just to see it on the big screen and for like the audience kind of communal kind of response. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
I think we'll be less likely to get like an SG-1 revival with many of the original cast back if they do a cinematic movie. Yeah. I think if they do a streaming movie, we could basically get an SG-1 revival. Full on. Daniel Jackson, Sam, Richard, O'Neill even, and Christopher Judge, we could get that sort of film. I think if it's at the cinema, we won't. I think it'll be more...
And whoever does it, if they kill RDA, I'm going to scream.
When it happens, Matt, I'm sorry.
I'm asking Brad about that. I'm going to say about his. Then all of you people that keep telling me that's a stupid idea, if Brad agrees with me, you'll all have to shut up, and if he doesn't, I'll have to shut up. So I'm asking him. So, what? Sorry, you guys. So yeah, cinema. Still a risk, but at least they're open to it. And
honestly, after sitting with it and thinking about it the way we have the last couple months, really, they need to do a cinema release over a TV series to begin with. A TV series feels safe, and even though it's what we want and we want it feels boring. It doesn't feel like they actually care. It feels like they would be doing a cash grab just for nostalgia and all these different little tick marks instead of actually caring and applying that risk to something that, yes, has a bunch of nostalgic factors, but has a future on our screens and not just, we're going to run out of nostalgia quick if that's all we're going for. We have 17 seasons and a couple TV movies and another film to jump off of. We can get some seasons of fun, seasons of nostalgia, but we need a future for this franchise. And I think a movie's the way to set that up. I think a TV show, no matter what, you're going to be bogged down at least for half a season trying to correlate it with things that have happened in the past. You might as well do a little bit of that, legwork in a movie and introduce new people as well. Honestly, a movie, if it was just the occasional SG person that we're familiar with, just in the background or as a commander somewhere doing something, that would be great because it shows us there's more to this world still. And it's not so much like, okay, we got SG-1 back, we got SGA back, and we're going to get bored so fast. Even as much as we don't necessarily want to admit it, we would love to see it, but it would just be it's not going anywhere if they don't allow it to go anywhere. And I think they need to allow it to have that room and breadth. Yeah, does that make sense?
I do agree with everything you just said. Just to go on top of that, having cameos from like the previous cast members would give us reassurance that it's in the same universe.
Yeah.
So it's not like a reboot. It's not soft reboot or anything. It's the same universe, exactly the same. It's just continuing, maybe with different characters, but that's the reassurance. That's the link to say it's the same SG-1, same SGA, this SGU that you knew and love. It's just different characters now because it's been 15 years.
Yeah, that has to be part of it. If they're just mentioned, if we actually see them or anything, I think that has to be a part of it. But I think the good thing about doing a movie as well is, even if it's not super successful, if Amazon's already invested in Stargate, which they seemingly are, they know the type of audience they have with it. There is already a baked-in TV audience. If the movie fails, you can still make a TV show and still have a money-making audience there. And I think that's the best thing, is because they could bring in way more people than we have already, plus get everybody back, You have something for new people. You have something for old people. You have something to get both of them excited about new things still. And we just have more Stargate. Like, that just sounds best to me, honestly. I don't know.
And anybody that says the cinema release would fail, I have to say, 10th highest grossing MGM movie of all time, the original Stargate.
The highest grossing movie of all time whenever it was released as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. It was King Modi at the box office when it came out.
Yeah, it absolutely smashed it because it only cost them like 15 million quid to get their hands on as well. Third highest YouTube searches of sci-fi shows: Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate. Those other two shows are still on, and they get searches. Stargate hasn't been on screens for 12 years, and it's the third highest. That's mental.
Damn.
Excuse me. Facebook groups, there's hundreds.
I said it before. The fact that channels like ours does well for a show that's not been off the air for so long just proves that there's an appetite for it.
Only one other franchise that comes to mind that had that kind of staying power, and that was Star Trek. I mean, Stargate. I mean, it is
as well.
In terms of all the production, the number of spinoffs, the number of episodes, and the reaction to the fandom, decades afterwards, shows that Stargate it's in King Modi territory.
Big thing though. Definitely getting a TV series. It's basically already been green lit as far as we're concerned. So, yay! Is there
big yay.
Big yay. Big yay.
Big yay. Double yays. All yays. Lots of yays.
I mean, again, anybody that's saying anything that the cinema's a bad idea, in a way, I don't care because the series is already lined up.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, it is the sleeping giant of sci-fi. Even if it fails, it will probably fails with quotation marks everywhere around it. It'll probably still break even. The only thing that would make it not break even is if it's just marketed like a mother, and they just have it where it's just they spent 3 times the actual budget on marketing. Like, that's the only way I could see it not breaking even.
They don't need a marketing budget. All they need to do is tell us when it's out.
That's it.
We'll do the rest.
Legitimately.
We will run our mouth about it.
No, we won't shut up.
Send me a couple t-shirts. I'll go walk down Hollywood Boulevard.
Nothing's been announced, and we haven't shut up about it for 2 years.
It's the sleeping giant.
I sometimes think, I can't do another Stargate video. I can't. I've got to talk about something else.
You can.
But then I just think, nah, screw it. That's what I want to talk about. So sod it. That's what I want to talk about. The motivation then for getting Stargate again, is that a big? That's got to be again another big thumbs up in it. That is again for an official source from MGM is telling us it was Stargate was always one of the big, which is what we heard way ago. I mean, the beautiful thing about what this source is was she's basically confirmed everything we've been talking about, and she's not really told us we're wrong about anything, which is just great. It just confirms that the people we're talking to know what they're on about, which is always a concern sometimes when you get told certain things like, I think you're mental or just wrong, but we just try not to share that stuff too much. But again, they've got confidence in this. That's what I just can't help but feel excited about.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah.
Everyone says sleeping giants can't sleep. No, they wake up at some point because a sleeping giant that keeps on sleeping is dead. It's a dead giant.
Sleeping giants at one time's got to get up and go wee. I'm just saying.
It's not a comatose giant. It's a sleeping giant. It's having a nap. It's had a 12-year nap, 14-year nap, but it's going to wake up.
Even people in comas wake up.
Yeah.
Not always.
But yeah. Sometimes they just die. But I think we're well past. Personally, I think we were well past the will it, won't it happen like 9 months ago, 10 months ago. Definitely in March, 100% March. I was just like, it's happening. That's it now. Anybody that still thinks this isn't happening, I'm sorry, you're just wrong.
I mean, I think it's a for sure deal. The second Amazon bought MGM, it's pretty damn sure right after that.
You see comments all the time on on Facebook, on YouTube, on Reddit, especially when someone will post, not necessarily our videos, but something along the lines of Stargate's coming back, and then they're always just like, "Oh, I believe it when I see it," or "There's nothing official been announced." And I think that's probably just a lot of fans throughout the last 15 years have been promised things, and then it's been ripped from underneath them. So hopefully this time, well, it will happen, but
it is happening. Yeah,
it's gonna reinvigorate their trust in the system.
And there are several people that have put comments on, and I've said, "Come back to me when it's announced," and they better, because I'm going to go find them. They have straight up called me a liar, and I'm like, I know who you are. I have a list. No, I don't. I really don't care that much, but.